Rock Solid Agents. Dan Rochon here, and I'm really grateful to be joined with Al Stasek from Cleveland, Ohio, from the Chase Stasek group of eXp Realty, and also from the Reese and Stasek group as well. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but before we get started, I wanted to let you know that Al literally just in the last 30 seconds, just completely a big 18-pound hamburger just disappeared.
It was actually a taco.
That was impressive, man.
That was two shrimp tacos. Yeah.
So thanks for joining me, Al. It's a pleasure to meet you and to have a conversation with you. And I really want to have a conversation today about we were talking offline about marketing and about attraction versus chasing, and really just understand a little bit about your journey and a little bit about the marketing piece as well. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So Al, why don't we start with your journey and then we'll transition into the marketing piece, if that's okay with you.
Sure, Dan. Well, thanks for having me on.
You're welcome.
I'm excited for this podcast, and I can't wait to listen to the replay and make sure I didn't stutter or mess something up for you. So man, my journey just kind of started 21 years ago last week, actually, is when I got my real estate license. I dropped out of Cleveland State University, really didn't have a whole lot of direction. I grew my hair long and started in the trucking industry. I actually started driving truck over the road. I was a very different human being then and really didn't have a direction of what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to make money. That was clear. I just didn't really know how. So somehow I ended up in the trucking industry. Found out real quick that the over-the-road life wasn't for me. It was fun. I was in my early 20s, so I didn't have a family or anything like that. So I really had to start figuring out what I wanted to do with my life because it wasn't going to be trucking, and I have the utmost respect for truck drivers. I mean, obviously, I did that for years. It's a tough life, just always being on the road. And I knew that if I wanted to have a sustainable relationship in the future, which I did, I wasn't going to be able to be on the road. So, of course, I landed in real estate because we have all the time, right?
I was going to say, literally the toughest road for a relationship is being on the road, right? But that's, I just came up with that.
Yeah. So we, real estate, my dad was a real estate agent for years. So I kind of grew up going into Century 21 offices as a kid, like at night with my dad, because he actually was a Teamster. He was a union worker, worked the docks and during the day, sold real estate with the gold coat at night. I would sit upstairs and listen to him make phone calls, getting hung up on, getting sworn at. Like he would just call a street a night. That was his thing. And did pretty good part-time. But I was like, I am never going to be a real estate agent. This is horrible. I would be going into these offices. It was kind of in the 80s. You've probably seen Glengarry, Glen Ross, like that kind of environment. Everyone's in there smoking, swearing. It just wasn't a friendly environment, And I'm like, I couldn't figure out why anybody would want to do this. But here I am, 21 years later. This business is not what it was in the 80s. It's been completely transformed into a fun business, I think, anyway. And now I'm having the time of my life. The journey wasn't always fun, but kind of just struggled my way through. Started at Century 21 just because that's where my dad was. I went and helped. I'll be really quick and brief here so I can get to what you really want to hear. But I went and started. I helped a friend of mine I went to college with a startup that was a discount brokerage. So we grew that kind of through like after September 11th through 2006. And right before the downturn happened, I went and started my own team with Remax. I didn't know that the downturn was about to happen. And that clobbered me pretty good, but I limped through it, limped out of it, ended up seeing a video hit my inbox by Jay Kinder talking about how he listed, 72 houses in 1 month or something, or no, it was 72 listing appointments in 1 month. And I'm like, who's this country boy? What's he doing that he's getting all these listings? And so I watched the video, and it was on how to hire an ISA. He had an ISA, and he had marketing coming in, and he was spending some money on marketing, but obviously I was turning into listings, and I wanted listings. So I literally just became a student of the game, hired them as a coach, started growing my team.
How long ago was that you hired that Reese?
2010.
Okay. So 9 years ago. Okay.
Yep. In 2010. And I ended up becoming a coach in 2013 for them.
Okay.
Started coaching other agents on growing a team and, building a business model. Eventually, I ended up going independent and opened Stasek Real Estate Experts in 2013, actually. And all the way up to 2007, we had a good run as an independent broker.
17. So we're 13 to 17 now?
13 to 17 for like 4 years.
All right.
We were doing, probably just under 300 transactions or so, about 1.6 million in GCI. I had stepped out of the business a couple times and got thrown back in. And if you've ever done that, you're probably smiling or crying. But I experienced that pain.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what brought me to where we're at today. 2 years this month. I took my brokerage of 10 agents and merged it with eXp Realty. And it's been a pretty fun ride since then.
Well, that's awesome, man. That's great.
Yeah.
So you talked about learning and teaching others in regards to marketing and attracting business to you. Tell me more about that if you could.
So, in coaching, I don't know, at this point, probably thousands of real estate agents that are, either with our organization or outside of it. In talking to real estate agents, it seems that their number one challenge that they need help with is, where's my next customer going to come from? How do I consistently acquire customers without this up and down and waiting for, a friend or family member or someone in your sphere of influence to call you? How do we be able to make a consistent stream, or without spending thousands of dollars on Zillow, which I have done? And by the way, I know there's a lot of successful people, and we still buy Zillow. It's just we try to not buy it that much. It's it's made me a lot of money in the past, and it seems that when I spend the least amount of money, we make the most amount of money on that for whatever reason. But how do you build a sustainable stream of income or of people coming to you, asking you to do business, who already know, like, and trust you? So you've developed a brand. And how do you do all of that? See, if you're spending $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 a month on Zillow, you get good lead generation coming in, and it's fine. And those are convertible leads. And there are lots of people that are making money. It's great, but you're not building a brand.
Right.
So if you were to our philosophy is, even if you were to take a part of that budget, not completely take it, but a part for a very small slice of the budget that you're spending on Zillow, Realtor.com, or anything like that, putting it into a content strategy, doing things like what you're doing with a podcast, putting video out, which is, video is said to be 600% more powerful to the eye than reading something in text.
Sure.
And so what we really teach is a video strategy, a content strategy that surrounds around video, and dropping deposits into the value into the marketplace of whatever that is. And so for you, this is a deposit that you're putting into the relationship account, if you will, of any listener that listens to your podcast. You're giving them value. You're not asking for money or anything like that. You're giving value. And I'm not sure what your end goal of this is, but what you're doing is you're building an audience.
Sure.
So what we teach people to do is build that audience. Real estate agents should be building an audience in the area that they want to become an expert, or they are an expert in already. And I mean, if you were to drop me really in any city, I'm here in Cleveland, Ohio right now, but you could drop me in really any city. And if my task was to become the go-to expert, grow my brand, and start growing business and getting business on a very shoestring budget, there'd only be one thing I'd be doing. I'd be using video to do. And since we're talking about attracting versus chasing, obviously there is a chase mode to it. I could call FSBOs expireds, which I did for years. I'm not saying not to do any of those things, but if you want off that treadmill, you have to build a brand. And when someone thinks of you in your town, or if someone's thinking of real estate in any capacity, you want to have the mind share of them, your name, your face popping in to their brain, so that you're the only choice. You know what I mean? I got to call this guy. I see him everywhere. And so that's really kind of like the end goal.
What type of videos do you do? Let's say we airdropped you into, I'm in DC, I'm Northern Virginia. So let's say you moved to Alexandria, Virginia, and you're new here and you say, okay, I'm going to create a brand, what would you do? What would you talk about?
There'd be three video assets that I would focus on. And you already said one of them when we were talking prior to getting on here. So I already know you probably know the answer to this, but my favorite one to do is interview local business owners.
Sure.
We do that using video, and okay, thank you. We do that using video, literally just with the iPhone. It's not professionally shot or anything like that. Selfie stick, whatever. And we highlight a local business that we want to champion. And preferably, if you really want this to work really well for you, you would want to do it with a business that other people love too. So if they're just crushing it in the market, that's what you want to highlight. And this is Gary Vaynerchuk, Michael Reese. I have zero financial interest in Mike's book because he wrote it. But if you want a really great book on this, it's Digital President. So it's very similar to the philosophy that Gary V teaches of become the digital mayor. So Mike wrote Digital President. You know, he had to one up Gary. Sorry, Gary. But
my book is going to be Digital Warlord of the Universe.
Yes,
something like that.
I like that. You should have you up in the clouds as a warlord, right? You can pull that off.
Yeah.
So, but really, that it's about that mind share. I think that the biggest challenge that agents have is they're afraid of what they look like in this and how they sound. And if anybody's listening to this,
Al, let me interrupt you real quick. Quick. I agree with you. And if you are watching this right now and you're afraid of what you look like and what you sound, this works. So if I get away with this, you're okay.
Exactly.
Sorry, Al, go on.
Listen, I'm very aware that I sound a little bit like a pirate. I don't like it, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's how the vocals were built. I'm never going to be on American Idol, ever. I'm stuck. But I know this is that when I put content out there, it's genuine. It comes from, just a deep caring of whatever if it's a person that I'm interviewing or whatever, I'm there to literally help them. Yeah. There's no mention of me being a real estate agent or, hey, by the way, you should call me or any of that. It's about that business. And it's about what you're doing essentially is you're dropping a deposit into the relationship bank account of all the audience of the people that would watch it. And what's really cool about doing the business owners is the business owners' friends all want to share it too. So the video ends up starting to go viral because they're like, hey, they're showing their friends. And, oh, look it. Like the one I did was Yorktown Service Plaza. It's a gas station. It was one of my first jobs that I've ever gotten, pumping gas and selling cigarettes for Yorktown Service Plaza. Now it's a really big, they've expanded and they got a really nice car wash, more bays and everything like that. But I did an interview because these people are kind of like icons of that little town where I grew up in. Everybody goes there for coffee in the morning. Everybody goes there for gas. Everyone knows everybody by name. It's like one of those shops. And so this thing just took off. And for real estate, you're like, well, how does this benefit me? Well, it's because I sell homes in that community. So I'm telling you that, look, I've sold hundreds of homes in this city of Parma Heights. If you're in Parma Heights and you haven't been to Yorktown Service Plaza, you got to check it out. And I'm endorsing someone else completely unselfishly, maybe not completely unselfishly, because what I'm doing is I'm building that audience up. And what I'm doing is I'm warming that audience up by giving them deposits of value that have nothing to do with real estate because they're not ready. The thing is that your audience, 97% of your audience is indifferent to your message. If you're a real estate agent, 97% of the people out there, they ain't looking to move. Only maybe about 3% are. So if that's the truth, why should your message be about, oh, call me because I'm number one. Call me because I sell lots of houses. They don't care. 97% of people just don't care, until they need to care, until it's time. So when you address your audience with value that all of them, it's sticky. And now you start positioning yourself as that digital president of your particular area. And they don't even know why, you're top of mind. I mean, maybe they are paying attention, but unconsciously they're seeing you everywhere. So they just believe that you must be doing really good, even if you're not even selling houses. You know, there's a perception that you're a champion of the community. So yeah,
so that's the first one. You said there was 3. What's the second one?
The second one I would say is a market update. So this is actually flying right into the radar of the fact that you're a real estate expert and you're a pro. A market update on that particular zip code or area, speaking directly to the person who would want to know that. The number one thing that a seller wants to know is the price. You know, we'll keep them up late at night. And that kind of leads me to another thing. If you're watching this, you're thinking, well, what are all the things I could shoot? I mean, I'm going to give you 3 videos that are the best, but there's other videos you can shoot. And those videos, you should sit down, make a list. And what we call this is stacking your ammo. And it's a marketing term called stacking your ammo. And stacking your ammo, it's kind of like what we were saying at the beginning. Like the topic was supposed to be strong mindset or whatever. Like make a list of everything that you think a seller, what keeps them up at night? What are the things that are, and you want to speak to the message that's playing inside your audience's mind. So if your audience is worried about, well, how long is it going to take to sell a home? How much is it going to cost to sell a home? What's the time frame like? Like what's the market like? Well, what if I'm not going to sell enough? All these things is kind of the things that play inside of our clients' minds, whether we know it or not. And if you're shooting content that matches that and hits those points, what you're going to do is you're going to start to grow something called affinity. And when you start to grow that affinity, they're just loving on you. You don't even know it, but they are, because you're putting great content out in the form of something that's really kind of hitting what they need to hear, what they wanted to hear. So that would be the second one, market updates. Anybody can do them, super easy. Doesn't cost you anything to get the data. It's right there in the MLS. My recommendation is to make sure that you use tangible things that people can understand.
And then help interpret it as well.
Say that again?
I would suggest to help to interpret it as well, so that people understand, what does it mean that we're 20% less inventory this year versus last year? So what does that mean to a consumer, to a potential seller? To help them sort of digest it rather than just the data. Is that what you're saying?
You nailed it. That's exactly what someone would want to do and have to do, because if you go over their heads with it, you lost them. That's not good content. Now you've lost the whole let's create good content thing, because it ain't making sense. So yeah, you need to interpret it. And what you're doing with that is you're positioning yourself in a position of superiority and knowledge. Like you're an expert. Like when you go to the doctor, you're not questioning what the doctor says. If he says you need to go on this, you go on it. And well, sometimes we do question the doctor.
I was going to say, or maybe you don't, but
or maybe you don't. I mean, it's a decision, but at least it's coming from a place of this guy's got 8-9 years of medical school, and like definitely knows more than you. We can agree on that. So that's how you want to position yourself in the market. And so the third video is community events. So be the news. I don't know what the number is. I have it in my presentation. I think it's something like 100 million people in the world log on to Facebook between 6 and 8 p.m. or something like that. Don't quote me there. It might be more at this point.
It's a bunch, whatever it is, right?
And that is more than ABC, NBC, and CBS combined. So think about that. It would cost you a minimum of probably $5,000 a month if you wanted to start running commercials on any of those networks. Obviously, maybe cheaper if you went like cable or something like that, but it's not an inexpensive endeavor. And you can hit so many more people for a fraction of the cost by making sure that you have a social media content strategy in place to start to grow your audience. And so come to them with be that source. If something's cool's going on. Cleveland's got all kinds of fun stuff going on, whether it's football games, whether it's like festivals. There's tons and tons of churches and stuff like that. There's whatever it is, be the source. Hey, here's what's going on this week. And you can put that content out there. And so you have two things that really have nothing to do with real estate that are all about the community and becoming that community champion or that digital president of your community. And then you want to make sure that you are throwing something in there about real estate, because frankly, that's what you do. And you want to pepper that in. So those are the three.
In the background as well. Like you can hit it, once every so often, and then you always there's always sort of like this presence of what you do, but it's not necessarily always direct. Would that be correct?
Yeah, and I mean, I know you've probably heard this term before, but you don't walk into a party and be like, "Hey, how you doing? I sell real estate."
Yeah.
You know anybody? Like you just don't. That's not how you build a relationship.
Yeah.
And so this content strategy is designed to build multiple relationships off of a media platform that's free to all of us. Now, you can run some traffic and boost things, and that's fine. And that there's a strategy behind that. And I don't think we have enough time to, get into all of that. But, you need a business page if you're going to, boost anything to anything, and you should be boosting video. I've also kind of transformed my personal page. My personal page, although I have multiple business pages, my personal page is probably the most valuable page of anything I have, because they're mostly, relationships. They're like, it's Facebook with friends.
Sure.
Not, LinkedIn where it's, business people. It's people putting stuff up. Today's my wife's birthday. And so everybody's wishing her happy birthday. It's social. This is a relationship building platform. And so it's a
happy birthday to your wife.
Thank you. I'll let her know you said that.
Please.
Absolutely. So yeah,
so the Facebook personal page, you're finding that you're getting a higher return than your business pages. And that's because of the relationship, because of the way that you're cultivating those relationships, and that you're being a resource for your friends. Is that correct?
Well, I've been able to grow that audience to, I don't know, it's somewhere probably over 6,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Really just because of, the masterminds I've been a part of, and the coaching and this and that. A lot of those are real estate agents all around the country. I was fortunate enough to, like I said, start being a coach for Kern Reese back in 2013. So they, had me do a couple presentations on stage, kind of learned how to speak to an audience for the first time, a larger audience and everything like that. So I've started building my audience of real estate agents, which obviously is today serving us, because what I help people do, like if you're in an elevator and somebody asks me, so what do you do for a living? I help real estate agents grow their businesses. That's what I do. And so my audience is real estate agents. But if you're looking to grow your sales business or a team, then your audience is buyers and sellers in the community that you serve. And so you can have different audiences, and that's fine. And we do, because we have a real estate team that sells lots of real estate right here in Cleveland, Ohio. So we actually do market to two different audiences. But me primarily, is what I do on a day-to-day basis is really my audience is real estate agents, and dropping value into the relationship bank account that we say of real estate agents. And that's what we do.
So you personally are driving value or providing value and contribution to real estate agents, suggesting strategies, tactics, techniques for them to be able to have more consistency and predictability in their business. And then your brand, your sales business is providing local content of being the local digital president of the community, so that you are a resource for the local community. Do I understand that all correctly?
Yep.
Okay. Fantastic.
Nailed it.
What have you learned? I'm curious, because you've coached thousands of people. If you were to say one thing that you've learned from your clients that has impacted your life, has made a difference, even if it's a slight change that made a dramatic difference, what would that be?
From my coaching clients?
Yeah. What have you learned from them?
I think that what coaching other agents has done for me is it's helped me become more empathetic. And that never really was a strong trait of mine.
Yeah.
I'm pretty hard on myself, type A driver like yourself. And I expect a lot out of myself. I think that's what you said at the beginning when we were talking. So I just, and so empathy was never something that I was aware of. I think that learning from all these agents, and a lot of them have the same problem, but some are different based upon their market. Some of my clients that were in like oil cities that were heavily reliant on oil, we were doing really, really great, and they were hurting really bad. And you grow that empathetic part of your personality, I think, by hearing all the different challenges and being able to adapt to those. I think that I learned to become a better listener. I hope I'm answering your question right. I don't know if it was you were looking for a specific thing I learned from them, or like what it made me become as a person.
Al, whatever you got to share with me is what I'm looking for.
Okay.
This is perfect.
In the wrong direction. I know if
I don't have a direction. I want to know more about you. I want to learn from you.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that it's just for me, that's what I think it's done for me. I've also learned from, I still coach, I still have coaches, that I pay a lot of money to.
Yeah.
And that just kind of keeps me accountable. And one of my coaches, and I mean, I'll give you his name. It's fine. John Sheplack is not only my coach, but he's a dear friend of mine. The biggest thing that I've learned among some of the things that I shared with you today came from John and Mike and Jay. I didn't make any of this stuff up. I mean, we all kind of coach with, or at least follow a lot of the same gurus, if you will. Frank Kern, if you don't follow Frank Kern, you should follow Frank Kern. The thing with real estate is that most real estate agents, if you said, hey, who's Frank Kern? They'd be like, I don't know who Frank Kern is. And they should know who Frank Kern is. This is a man who's made $24 million in 24 hours, broke a record online marketing. And he has amazing strategies that, some of which that I even shared with you today, kind of translate into the internet marketing world as well. So what I learned from John, though, was, changing my mindset from being a real estate sales manager, because real estate agents don't get into this business to be managed. And really kind of shifting my leadership style to more of a human development, human relationship side of things. And even the way you hold people accountable, I've changed a lot.
How so? Specifically, like in the accountability piece.
Yeah. So the accountability, I'll actually show you something here. So this, oh no, wrong hat. Hang on. So this is one of our hats here with Chase Basic Group. And on the back, you can see that that's a 100-0.
Okay.
And if you were to come into our office over here, you would see 100-0, the numbers 100/0 all over the place. I have it tattooed on my arm. It's that important.
That's committed.
It's our core. It's committed. It's our core of all of our core values. And it stands for 100% accountability and 0 excuses. And so we've had this on the walls everywhere. NAEA and Kinder Reese has also adopted it as a core value. And it's a great core value, because who likes to hear excuses? And everybody wants to, you should be accountable. You should never be blaming anybody else for what's going on in your business or your life. Take ownership of it. There's tons of books on it. We won't get into it, but we've adopted it. But what I was doing wrong was holding my team accountable to their commitments. And sometimes people don't hit their commitments. It happens all the time, especially real estate agents. And then I would ask them, well, why didn't you hit it? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you make the call block? Why didn't you make those calls? You know what I mean? Like, and then they'd sit there with this blank stare on and be like, but wait, isn't this 100-0? Like, now you're asking me why, which is eliciting an excuse. And why, the word why, is a word of judgment. So if there's anybody out here leading other human beings, I highly recommend that you eliminate the word why. Because the second that you ask somebody, well, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do it? It's a word of judgment, and you're going to put people back into a position. A better way might be beyond anything that could have possibly happened. Was there a possibility that you might have been able to do it, or was just there no way? And the answer to that is yes or no. And if the answer is, well, yeah, I could have did it, but I just chose to do something else, then your next response should be something like, would you like to recommit? And if they're willing to recommit, then you just coach them up to that commitment and these micro commitments. And that's kind of what we've transformed into as far as the accountability piece of our coaching is working on micro commitments that will lead you toward the goal, and holding people accountable to their commitments, not yours. And so it's just little shifts that I made that I had to make because I kind of got nervous in thinking about leading 10 people is not that hard.
Sure.
Leading 50, we got a team of 50 here. By the end of 2 months, we'll probably have 60. And that's a different, there's a lot of similarities, but it's a little different. And so you're not going to try to lead 50 people with this, make your calls or else, you know, like that's just, I think that when I was growing my team, I was spending so much money on radio, on marketing, but this is when I was still in a sales role too. I was out hitting these appointments. Look, if radio leads come in and that averages about $500 a pop, I'm going to go out there and nail that appointment because I paid for it.
Sure. $500, right?
So I kind of had, when you're spending that kind of money, you almost have to run your organization that way because if you don't, you go bankrupt. So we just don't do that anymore. And we have a happier, better culture, not top down. We put together these accountability groups that we call 100-0 groups, where the agents hold themselves accountable, groups of 8 to 10 agents. They meet 1 hour a week, lay out their commitments, and then they hold each other accountable to it. And we have 3 or 4 of those groups going right now. And so like we've just kind of shifted to this more of a human, look, if you have a team, you don't have a team of real estate agents. You got a team of human beings first. And so I think that like that's just the biggest thing I've learned, the biggest shift that I've made probably over the last, say, 24 months or so of kind of really focusing and being aware of how we lead humans.
I love it, man. I love it. Al, thank you so much for your time today. We're a little bit past time, but I could talk to you for another 2 hours. So if you're a real estate agent and you want to get in touch with Al and learn more about him, because I know that you are transforming people as well as the real estate industry, how could I get in touch with you?
You can hit me up on Facebook. My personal page is Albie. That's my nickname is ALBIE. Albie. That's my folks kind of nickname for me. My full name's Albert. Nobody calls me that unless I'm in trouble. So
Albert.
You can hit me up there. Follow me on Instagram, Albie Stasek, and you can send me a message. I'm happy to help. Go to alstasek.com, and if you go to alstasek.com, that's kind of my digital business card. And if anybody wanted to hop in and if they got stuck on something, I make my calendar open to anybody. You can grab a slot. It's through Calendly. There's a link to my Calendly in there, and you can check it out. And I appreciate you having me on, Dan.
Thanks, Albie. Take care. Let me know how I can help you in any way.
Thanks. Appreciate you.
All right.